I am terrified. And I'd like to ask you to close your eyes and to help me make you feel better, to help me harness the power in this space. So close your eyes with me. Let's imagine a space in our life, a space full of peace and joy, a space open and warm. Imagine a space that we can retreat to, the vibrant spaces where we meet with friends and family. Now, imagine this space shrinking. Feel the walls drawing closer. Feel the air getting tighter. And the only view you have of the world beyond is through a bar-stained window. Come back to me. Throughout my life, I've navigated various spaces. Some nurturing, others stifling. Growing up in Long Island, me and my mother maintained our home. I was the man of the house, the oldest of 5. And if you have baby sisters, you know, baby sisters are bossy and hard to please. Their bed had to be made. Their toys had to be organized. And it was rinse and repeat every day. This practice of care instilled in me an acute sensitivity to space, a sensitivity that made my time in prison extremely intense. In 2007, I was arrested for a first-degree felony that cost me 13 years of my life. And when I got to Sing Sing, before that, I heard so many stories about prison, about life in prison, about how prison is designed. But nothing could prepare me for what I've experienced when I actually stepped into Sing Sing Correctional Facility. The cell block stretched around 500 feet long, 44 feet wide. The cell, a mere 7 by 3 feet. The rust on the bars, the slow water leaking from the sink just above my head, and the toilet inches away from where I slept. In that confined space, I struggled for a long time because I was put in a place that didn't inspire me. And in every inch, in every feet of that place, it was a constant reminder of how much my world shrunk. So, how did I get here? In 2007, I started a long journey. I was at Riverhead Correctional Facility in Long Island. When I first got there, it didn't take long for me to realize that if I didn't find a way to redefine my incarceration, it would only be about punishment and nothing more. So I had to redefine that experience. I had to rely on my imagination, my curiosity, to help me just changed the landscape of what my life was at that moment. And I had nothing but bars and tight spaces. Until one day, I discovered the prison library. I remember walking into the room for the first time. This library, it was quite pathetic. It was nothing like the libraries you see across NYC, or the gorgeous library next door, Bope's Library. This library was a tight space, and it stretched across 3 shelves. I remember every time I went down to the library, I would see the yellowish tile floors. I would smell the stale, musty air. Yet, that space was my sanctuary, my classroom, and ultimately, the gateway to a future I couldn't imagine at the time. The harsh reality is that prison, it doesn't teach. It corrodes. It oppresses. It breaks. In that library, I discovered histories, philosophies about language, design, storytelling. And each word, each line was a life source that gave me the energy I need to redefine prison from a place of punishment to a landscape of learning. Halfway into a 13-year sentence, I arrived at Fishkill Correctional Facility. Fishkill was completely different than Sing Sing because Fishkill featured an open concept design. I was in a dormitory. The constant exposure ate away all illusions of privacy. But I was forced once again to adapt, to unlock a new way to grow. So I had an idea. I learned that Fishkill had a welding shop. Welding was alien to me. But I'm so confident in my ability to learn, I committed to welding. And in the interview that I had with the foreman, I remember the look of confusion and concern on his face when he asked me the dreaded question, have you ever welded before? Somehow, by the grace of God, I convinced him to take a chance on me. And I unlocked that opportunity that I really needed. Not too long after that, I was transferred again to Walk Hill Correctional Facility. And that's where things expanded beyond my imagination. I enrolled into NYU and flourished in the NYU Prison Education Program. With their support, I unlocked new ways to grow. I built a community around my learning. I learned with others. There's a few things that we can take away from the reflections that I've shared thus far. Take a moment to look at your life. What spaces are enabling or disabling you? How are those spaces serving or not serving your growth? I had to learn not to see prison in order for me to grow. With these questions, you can really shift how you look at the spaces you inhabit on a day-to-day basis. You can teach yourself how to see opportunities where there isn't any. In 2020, I faced another challenge. I was released from prison during the pandemic. I went from prison to quarantine. I had to rebuild my life when the world was shut down. Another opportunity to use my imagination, my curiosity, to unlock more space. In a world where there was no space, no one had space, everyone was home. I landed at a beautiful community called Thrive for Life in the House of Studies. It was there that I took root and grew. Growing is a word that we take for granted. But I really grew with their love, with their support. I'm not here today. Each space that we inhabit has the potential to be more than just the physical rooms, buildings, and structures we inhabit. They can be the characters that drive our stories. And if we look at space in that way, we can redefine the landscape of our life, of others' lives. So I'll leave you with this. Be creative in how you define the landscape of your life. Be fearless in your curiosity and take control of how you store your world. Thank you.